for entree, the semi-finals. We had two games on a Saturday and a Sunday. Crusaders absolutely belting the Blues, 52 to 15.
Can we just correct? There was no footy on Sunday.
What did I say? Did I say Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, Friday and Saturday, mate.
Hey,
Mate, I
we're
was just
sometimes factually correct on this podcast, so I'm glad that we got that. Guys, okay,
right.
big stats from this one, right? Obviously, Crusaders got it done 52-15. That's a late Blues try to make it look a little better. Again, the Crusaders just decided to play with 14 at the end of the game rather than somebody went on because they're so good they genuinely don't even have to field a full side. And guys, they were up 52-8, which was above their score. No, it was the exact score. No, it was 3 ahead of what they had against the Indrua before the Blues scored late. But before this year, the Crusaders' biggest ever score in a finals match was 47 points against the Hurricanes. Last week against the Indrua, they scored 49 points, so they broke their record, and then they've broken it again this week with 52 points against the Blues. The most ridiculous score ever. Not only that, but also the last time the Blues conceded 32 points in the first half was against the Bulls back in 2009. So just a cheeky 14 odd years since they've been able to do that. So the crazy thing for me is that the numbers are so ridiculous, but this is a side that we thought was genuinely a weaker Crusaders side. Like, this is meant to be hard. What the hell happened?
Mate, all I'll say is, does this not sound like match fixing? You know what I mean? And setting a new record, but just setting it just a little bit higher and then setting another record. It's like old mate Usain Bolt back in the day when you look like he would break the world record, but looked like he still had more in the tank. He was saving it for future breaks. He wanted to break the record multiple times.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think the Crusaders are obviously just they're looking for probably a 53-point win against the Chiefs in the finals this week.
55, mate. 55, I reckon. Just keep that trend of 3 points up each time.
Yeah, huge. Any points from this one that stuck out for you, Nels?
Oh, look, in all honesty, this is just the Crusaders putting it together. This is shows us what we always thought about them. It doesn't matter who is on the field. It doesn't matter who's missing. They were missing 8 All Blacks this matchup. And yes, they haven't been the same side all year that we've come to know from them, but they were just waiting for finals. Like they were just putting it together, building, slowly got to this point. In the last, month or two, they have been phenomenal. And they are looking in red hot form, as good form as, I can imagine from them. That last week, this matchup was just insane. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a shellacking like that in finals, and that's including against Drua, including against any other Aussie side they want to lump in with the B grade teams in this competition. That was a shellacking.
I agree. I think, look, to our international listeners out there, if anyone can think of any team that is more of a finals footy team than the Crusaders, then let us know, because I just don't think there is one. And the way they're playing, I can't see any club team in the world that is beating the Crusaders, even with 8 All Blacks out. Like, spoilers for what I think is going to happen this week. But anyway,
the takeaway for me is the New Zealand sides, they need to cut a team. It's too one-sided. The Crusaders are too strong. They need to cut teams so that way they can compete with the Crusaders.
Can we make the real statement?
Can you imagine if this was done against the Brumbies? Like, they will be saying Australian rugby is broken. There's no point. This is the biggest rugby team in all of New Zealand. They've put everything behind this side to try and make them champions in the last 3 years, and they just got a record score put up against them. If this was Australia, we would never ever, an Australian team would never ever hit the end of it. I think we should cut them. I think we need to cut them.
The Highlanders didn't make finals, so yeah, maybe there's an argument for that.
Cut two teams.
Realistically, Australia does not have a New Zealand rugby problem. The rest of the competition, the entire competition, have a Crusaders problem. That's it. Cut the Crusaders. Make the comp even. The rest of the comp will be fine. Just get rid of them.
Mate, the world has a Crusaders problem. All right, let's move on to the second semi-final for the weekend. The Chefs taking on the Brumbies and getting it done in not quite the same fashion, but a 19-6, very, very different and hard-fought match. Was this one in Waikato or Hamilton? I forget exactly where it was, but
Waikato.
Waikato. Two very different games, but the Chiefs' defense just too good. Like, just unbelievable, frankly. Well, I think they were tackling at 93% over the course of that game. And the Brumbies threw everything at them. But the Chiefs was too classy.
Look, the Chiefs, they scored. Sorry, the Brumbies scored 5 tries against the Canes last week. Coming into this one, they didn't score a single try. If that doesn't explain, how good that Chiefs D was, then I don't know what else could, because that was an immense defensive effort by them to not let a single try in. I know the Brumbies weren't necessarily clicking as well as they did the week before, but I mean, it was that Chiefs defense and pressure that really shut them down.
I think really interesting as well was that the Brumbies only kicked the ball 32 times. I think it was 33-32 to the match. And I thought they started that game very much like the Reds did. They seemed to be trying to kick in behind, play in the right areas. And the more the game went on, the more they went away from that. And I think they started asking some really good questions early on. And then when they came up with nothing other than a few penalties, I think they kind of stressed out, panicked a little bit, and just kind of fell away from their game plan.
Yeah.
I agree.
It does beg the question. I don't know where they were ever going to score, though. Like there was no point really where the Chiefs looked like they were unlucky or they were lucky to get away without conceding a try. They were just unstoppable.
Indeed.
Really?
They're going to need to be able to do that again to the Crusaders. So, huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, the other one for me was, as good as the Brumbies were, and they did play very well to, I know it sounds like a one-sided score for those that didn't watch the game, but it was like a late penalty and a late try, a very late try to the Chiefs, right? Like this was 77 minutes. It could have gone either way. And then the Chiefs just managed to get through on some Damian McKenzie brilliance and a Brady Retallick try to finish it off. But it was neck and neck for the entire match. Absolutely brilliant game. But 2 players, I think, really hurt their chances of the Rugby World Cup. And I thought that was Noah Lolesio, who I thought was given a brilliant opportunity by Debrasini coming off early with an HIA. And, I think he looked pretty pumped to get on there. He looked pretty calm. And he kicked a couple of balls out in the full and not far enough on kickoff. He made a lot of mistakes. He just did not have a good game at all, never looked comfortable. And then the other one was Tom Wright. I think Tom Wright, a player that we said had probably a career best year through the regular season, has now put together back-to-back 4 games in finals. And I reckon he's written himself out of the fullback jersey. I still think he could be the right winger with Kellaway at the back, but he has hurt his chances massively. And the one thing I would say on top of that before I cross over to you guys is it is a little bit disappointing to see the chat on Twitter and Instagram. Everyone's just basically forgotten about the error-free fantastic season he's had in the regular season. Everyone's going, he's rocks and diamonds. He always makes mistakes. He didn't do that at all through the regular season. I think he knocked on 1 ball from a kick. Other than that, he was immaculate, and it's just fallen apart from him in the last 2 games.
You're only as good as your last game, particularly in finals footy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I said to my dad, and also your dad, Harry, before that
for
match,
the clarification.
Before that match on the weekend, and said, watch Tom Wright. This guy is putting his name up for Wallabies fullback, the Wallabies fullback position. And I mean,
so it's your fault.
I think he's lost it. Like he had that opportunity, and Eddie talked about, being able to do this stuff against Kiwis and against the Kiwi teams, and he had that chance, and I really think he shot himself in the foot.
And that's good, because your old man Rod knows to continue not listening to you because you speak absolute nonsense. So that's good.
Just reassured him, yeah.